Tanuj.
Hey,
Hey, man. Ooh, you're coming in loud and clear now. Oh, it's pretty good. Mr. Patel. Gentlemen, good happy Monday to each of you. Well, let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's do it. All right. Rita will be on, and hopefully she'll commandeer the meeting. Until then, man, first at bat, it's a doozy. Animated terminal. Tanuj, I might have broken the build with my attempt to incorporate in a button.
uh, I don't think so. It was working when I pulled it.
Was okay. I mean, I might need to refresh my branch. Do you want to demo it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see if you can just bump me off of sharing without me stopping. I hope you can.
Uh, no, I can't.
No, okay. Cool. Hey, Shriti. Good morning.
Hey Lee, good morning.
Hey, we're just making good use of the time until you came and commandeered.
All right. Well, we're 5 minutes in. Short participant list today. Is Nikhil joining today?
Say the name again.
Is Nikhil joining?
Oh, I haven't spoken with him today. I'm not. I can ping him. I'm not sure. I'll ping him.
I'll ping him.
Oh,
That's fine. All right. Well, we're 6 minutes in. Let's start, I guess. Okay. Tanuj, you can go first because the animated thing does not require anybody else's
Yeah.
help.
Yeah. So this is the current design. Basically, I still need to fix some things like this is not completely showing. This should show it as it is going down, but it is scrolling ahead without the complete thing appearing first. Apart from that, need to include a component here, and these are just filler tags for now, nothing else. Uh, that's basically it. Any feedback?
um, when you get to the I think I'm giggly for a couple of reasons. One, just we've been waiting. We've been in very dire need of animations, and so happy about this. But when you get to the pattern section, to the third section, or I should say, just as you end deploy, yeah, right here, as you're starting to scroll, at what point do we hit? Okay, so you're see how
Just soon as we go below the text of the above one.
oh, that's important. Why there's so much space. So if you go back to install and move between install and deploy, like the timing. Okay. So there's about the same amount of space. The number of frames per section, it's a little bit confusing because I think it's set to 100, but I don't know that each of the steps themselves add up to 100.
No, it's not necessary. So from what I could read was that they told that if it doesn't add up to 100, it will just suppose till now it didn't add up to 100. So till here it completed all the text it needed to show, and after that, if even if we scroll down, nothing is animating in this terminal unless we hit this point.
So part of our issue between at the very bottom of pattern, I wonder if it's that we have so two over 100 steps or frames inside of the third one. And that's why, because when you scroll to the very bottom of patterns, like you start to lose the terminal. Um, and so I wonder, do you know how many frames we're including in the third step?
Not sure exactly. I can check quickly.
Because anyway, the question is, or I guess the question in my mind are is that over 100 steps, and is that why we're not reaching the end of the animation before we reach the end of the?
I don't think so. I think it is some another issue. For, from what I could make out that they are using something, one React hook for this. Yeah, so basically they are just keeping this static and mm, checking out which is what part is leaving the viewport. Accordingly, they are animating this. So I think there is some issue with that.
Mhm. I wonder if, yeah, to your point, I wonder if because we don't have another component other than the footer on the page, I wonder if the subsequent component, you know how the subsequent component that they have is that screenshot switcher. It's like I wonder if there wasn't a piece of that component that had played a role here.
Uh, m- maybe not. I have to check exactly what was the role of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one other piece of feedback is on the install or where we use the color navy. For some reason, as you're doing a screen share now, it's coming through as like purple for me. Does it look navy
Ah,
to you, or does it look purple?
it's navy.
Okay,
I don't know why.
It's purple to me.
maybe a screen share thing. I'm not sure, but if as long as it's navy on your screen, Tanuj, I guess we're probably fine.
Yeah.
So Tanuj, I don't. It looks like yeah that they've done a pretty decent job of letting you be a little bit flexible inside the steps because I tossed in a bunch more adapters here, and it seems to have not gotten in the way of any of the timing.
Yeah, you can add any number of things. It will, even if uh, it will go up instead of overflowing the terminal. Like this is scrolling upwards instead of overflowing the terminal.
Mhm. Nice. Okay. Well, um, so okay, so does anyone else have feedback on Tanuj's work?
All right.
You know,
We'll catch up with this next week.
I have
Yeah.
just a couple quick more. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't like hogging the feedback time. Um, the this is a low priority to like no priority. This next comment. So it's you know I don't know if it would be a distraction or nice if the three in the terminal window itself, just the terminal itself, the three empty yeah.
Yeah. Like the Apple icons.
Even if it was just a mild color fill, even if it wasn't the exact color that you get on the Apple, if it was just, it might
Okay. Uh, uh,
But
you're talking about this, right?
yeah, I'll take a screenshot of what it looks like on. I mean, or I get, or I'll point you to one or something. Yeah, it's like a red, yellow, green. It's kind of like a traffic light. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, then the other thing is, so when we think about what this can be and what it would is this particular animation, like this is a whole page thing almost. I think on the page that we were taking inspiration from, they had an overarching intro, like a hero. I was actually trying to incorporate that using our components, not theirs. I was having some problems. And then at the below this, they have a screenshot switcher. So
Yeah.
the page that came off of, it wasn't the entire page, but it's a large component, right? And so the reason I'm talking about that out loud is in reflection of the effort that Josh is giving. By the way, is my voice coming loud for you guys or
No, it's normal.
normal? Okay.
Um,
Then to reflect on how this might fit into the main Meshery page that Josh is working on is there's different ways that this animation can be used. One is to literally just walk people through what it looks like to install Meshery and show them the steps. Um, that is, or maybe arguably of nominal value, in part because that's not really what we want to teach people and tell people, like, because that's not the value of the project. It's also hopefully somewhat boring because it's just a single command and hopefully it just comes up and starts and it actually pulls open your web browser. So if we were going to use this animation to show that, like on the second step or the third step, instead of it being a terminal, we would probably just show a screenshot of your browser paying up. So right now we have a little bit of a cross, I think, between the install of Meshery itself and then trying to highlight some of its potential value. This is, I'll think on this a little bit because it could be any one of a couple of different answers. It is the case that we can use this animation in a couple of places, not too many because it is, unique. A couple of places being, if we're showing off, if we have that screenshot switcher, or if we have another area where we're showing functionality, it may be that we don't have a full page scroll like we do here, but that we use this in a single location to just show, how to invoke a performance test or something like that. I think it does have a couple of uses.
Yeah. Mm,
But nice. Okay, it's fantastic. I mean, overall, I'm super pumped. I wish that the terminal or that this component had the ability to highlight not an entire row, but just maybe a specific word. And that's not,
uh, Highlight in the sense.
well, like instead, you can do white, gray, green, navy,
Yeah.
as opposed to being in the entire line, if it would just let you do one word. But
Mm,
I mean,
yeah, it can be done.
and again, that's like a priority. That's like, if it takes more than 2 minutes, then forget it because it's just so cool. This is great. I'm really excited.
Uh, so like, isn't it like we are giving too much spaces between the install, deploy, and the patterns?
Mm,
Yes,
it's
no, yes. Although that's in part how the component itself works, and it might take bit of, I don't know how you'd say, not like minor to medium surgery to switch that around a little bit. I think in part they do it, and we can send you a link to the original, but in part I think they do it because you otherwise might, as people, as humans, as we've been navigating the web for 20 years now, you tend to be, or I think we tend to be fairly heavy on the wheel, on the scroll down. And so by that, and so what I mean is like giving some space between there allows people to step through the full animation without just like going through it way too fast because the components are so close together.
Yes, if we do that, we'll have very less amount of task and we will have lot of steps in this area.
Counteract it though, because Neil has a good point like that. That's certainly something that struck me as well, is that, well, maybe we just need some more text, or maybe we need. And so I know Tanuj is considering bringing in a couple of images or so, or underneath the text, and that would help. That would help make it look not so separated.
Yeah,
All right, is that all?
yeah,
Okay. That was purely directed to Lee. That is really good
yeah.
work here. Um, all right, moving on. We don't have Anaya here, right? Tanuj, could you tell us about the Strapi deployment? I'm sorry, Lee, were you saying something?
Sorry, Amir was just texting, and I thought maybe he would be joining, but I don't think he is. So.
Uh, I don't know actually what is going with the deployment, but I can talk about how what can be the use cases of Strapi in our side.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, uh, let me just share. Like uh, the first thing we can use it is for listing out all the members. This will be the best use case, I think. Apart from that, the news can be added very easily because most of them are pure markdown. The main concern would be using it for the blogs. From what I could see was that while adding the blogs, if we are going to incorporate too many of these stylings, like for all the different images, mostly for all the blogs we have different styles defined. uh, so the problem would that be, while we can define classes in Strapi, but we need to define the styling for those classes in the repo itself. If we do that, the problem would be that uh, it is Strapi doesn't interact with Gatsby directly. Means if we make a change in Strapi, it is not the case that the changes will show directly in the website. We will need to redeploy the site, then only the changes will take place. So if that is the case, then we will for the blogs we will have to have some predefined styles and only use those instead of uh, creating anything on the fly.
Hey, every time that you, let me clarify and become less ignorant on Strapi if I can. Is it the case that every time that you publish, that a blog post is published, that there's a redeploy of Strapi necessary?
No,
No, there's
redeploy of
no
Gatsby.
reply. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
because yeah, because Gatsby will fetch all the information during build time and not runtime. So all the pages are static in Gatsby, so that is the issue.
Cool. And then, yep. And so in most respects, and which, or rather, and that falls in line with how Gatsby works and how we use Gatsby today. You want to make a, you want to put up a new post, you've got to do another build. When Strappy comes onto the scene, and correct me if I mischaracterize this, but Strappy is something of an out of band content management system, wherein it does source from a database and you can create and draft new posts and sort of see what they look like. But in order for those things to take effect on the production site, you'll still need to go through another build and kind of deploy of Gatsby, which is just how a static site works. Like that's what you're gonna have to do.
Yeah,
Now, good. For my part, I'm in favor of the predefined set of styles, which will, I think it'll do a couple of things, a number of things. It'll make sustaining the site easier because it's a smaller set of concerns to deal with. B, it'll make it more consistent for the reader, so that, which is nice. I don't think that there's a lot of imagery and specific things that we need to do inside of a post that really call for special case things. Like we need an image that's left aligned, center aligned, right aligned. We need one that has, all of them that have thumbnails and you can click, like it's a limited set of concerns with respect to what we want to do on a post page. You need hyperlinks that, go to other internal pages, hyperlinks that go to external. These need styled. Like there's a limited set. And so, yeah, there is upfront work to define those. But then beyond that, it becomes a lot easier for people to write posts because, like an example is Shriti is putting in these collapsible, expandable sections in Meshery docs. And at some point, my hope is that she'll go and update the the docs documentation to highlight those styles, because that's a fantastic, we want to be consistent with those styles. So if Strappy is enforcing that for us, that's a good thing.
okay. Mm, And for the projects, I don't think we will need to use Strappy because this thing does require custom styling.
That makes
Mm,
sense. Like, hey, there might be a limited set of concerns that Strappy is going to be able to address. Like, so for my part, to kind of recount part of our original thinking and why it is that we're using these components and how the logic for me behind Strappy is a couple of things. Is one, that like, so we've had a number of posts we've had posts from a lot of different folks, some of whom have never used Gatsby before and a little bit uncomfortable. They're able to write content in Markdown, but being able to preview it has been a challenge, whether it was Jekyll or Gatsby. So having Strappy helps facilitate a WYSIWYG environment in which they can be comfortable and we can have a review process that's doesn't necessarily need to be as technical as pull requests and auto generating of Netlify previews and things. So I'm hoping Strappy helps in that regard in terms of just bringing in other people, letting us collaborate with them a bit better, having consistency of styles and consistent and a little bit of and we'll see this when we get into Strappy, how well it helps eliminate part of the complication of like where you write your text for your post in one area and you go deposit some images in another area, the complexity of the naming by date, the previews, there's different controls over what's draft and what's not. There's literally the Jekyll controls over a draft, which is in the draft folder. Then there's a front matter control. Like, so I'm hoping Strappy just helps clarify and eliminate confusion on that, makes it easier to do WYSIWYG stuff with more people who are maybe just content folks. And like, what's his name? Sudeep Batra did a great post, but you know, and I think our interaction there with them would have been easier. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of Strappy. Another thing I'm hoping to get out of Strappy is some improvement around, well, a little bit around information architecture. So today, if you consider that someone goes to write a post, maybe Sudeep is writing this one, he goes to look at the tag. He doesn't really have a place to look at tags in the code. Rather, he just thinks like, well, this is Istio related post. I should put it into the Istio category. So he types Istio in. Turns out there wasn't an Istio category before, but now he has just created one, and that category has one post. Well, that's not really a category yet. Moreover, we didn't want 95 categories. We didn't want people making up categories or tags necessarily willy-nilly. And I think Strappy will help us in that regard. It'll help us with our information architecture. Hopefully it'll help us with our SEO to the extent that it highlights to either it auto-generates some of that maybe, or that it just highlights to people that there are empty fields that need to be filled in. What is this post about? What's its excerpt? What's its description? When people see those empty fields, they hopefully fill them in, or those that are reviewing the post, make sure that they're filled in. That will help with our SEO. So consistency, structure. That's why when we move to Strappy, we'll need to do some quiet thought about information architecture, I think mostly, about what those collections are. So Tanuj, to your point, tell me if you guys see this differently, but it seems like in Strappy, it would deal with blogs. It would deal with collections.
Yeah.
Okay, but non-collections like the Meshery page, the landscape, that Gerald is working on, or any of these other ones that are unique, it doesn't. Or it could, but we wouldn't be using it for that, like long-lived individual pages. Maybe people might use it with Strappy to help with that if it's a wording change. But if it's a change with respect to the component and things like, that's just my guess because I haven't used Strappy, so I think it should also help with. Hopefully, we don't have complex RBAC needs around permissions on who can do what. Hopefully, we don't have those challenges, because I think if we do, we'll find ourselves in enterprise Strappy land, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but I don't know that it's necessary.
Yep.
So getting hands on an instance, I think, helps with fiddling around and futzing with it, and then being thoughtful about its information architecture, which is in part what I was hoping to accomplish with Mukul's deploy. And knowing that that takes about 2 seconds to stand up, Abhishek, would you mind tossing up just a sandbox instance and tossing out the credentials willy-nilly into the websites channel for Gerald and everyone that's here to poke at it, and with the understanding that we're just going to toss it away?
So which sandbox are you talking about, Lee?
One that you would create, that there isn't just like an instance of Strappy running on a T2 micro or something.
Okay, got it, cool. Yeah, sure. I'll need to have a discussion with you before that once about the login, and after that I'll post it on the website channel.
Nice, thank you. Second ask, by the way, before I want to talk to Abhishek about a deployment, does anyone want to say anything else about change what I said about Strappy a minute ago? So, all right, so Abhishek, Amia had done the community a nice favor. He's brought to bear some of his skills around cloud, DevOps, and did a deployment of Strapi, an EC2 instance, and a Postgres RDS instance. And that's about as far as I know the details of what he had done. But I believe he was successful in standing up an instance. And
Yeah, that's pretty much what he had done. And I had asked him about the Terraform scripts and automation script around the deployment and provisioning, but he said that he has not got chance to work on those yet. So I can also help you out with the scripts if you want. So basically, I was coordinating with Amia for the details on where exactly it's posted, which region, and etc. So I'll be looking at it today.
thank you. Yeah, if you would, Abhishek, the thing that thank you, that helps. This instance, this could be the sandbox instance, that might be the right thing. Ultimately, if we can get on paper a brief set of considerations for what the production instance will look like, because it just needs to be moderately highly available. If you get
Oh
my
yes, okay, got it. I'll put on a doc basically around this.
thank you. I'll point you to one that it will fit into pretty well, like the one that has. Abhishek, while we have you on this particular subject, there's a second item related. So there's Strapi and discourse. So it's not an urgent priority. It's an item that I know Tanuj and others have talked about and looked at. And yeah, actually. And so while you're in that mindset, if you would think a little bit about the fact that we will have a discourse deployment and how we might want to run that infrastructure.
Got it. Okay. Can someone help me out with the URL of discourse?
Discourse.org. I'm sending it in the website's channel.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Neil, you're fast.
Great. I'll look into this, Lee. I'll basically write it down on how we're going to do it.
Thank you. And so Tanuj and Neil, everyone, and Gerald, and everyone else on the call, the harder part to this is the information architect is like, hey, what are the items that you can configure in Strapi? And here's a proposal on how we think that those should be done. Is it necessary to have your hands on a Strapi instance to figure that out? Or is this something that can be put together from Strapi documentation?
Uh, we, it's not necessary. I can do something like this. I can run Strapi locally. We don't even need a sandbox instance for that.
Okay.
I can run the Strapi login and figure out what we need for what.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, because I think that's actually the hard part is like identifying the collections or the information architecture. I don't know what the Strapi terminology is, but yeah. So ideally, we would be looking at a proposal on paper, maybe in advance of next week's, or just as soon as you have it, I guess, Tanuj, that you would send it out for people to comment on.
Yeah.
And so on that, prior art on this topic it had been considered that the deployment of Strapi, it can be done, or to my limited knowledge of just what I've been told, is that there's kind of the two choices that we would make on how to on the mechanics by which Strapi is deployed. Um, so one of those being that we would fork the Strapi repository and use that repo as part of the deployment, part of the build and deployment. The other way I think is to take a Docker image or some other image, use that as the deployment, but use external configuration. And so Abhishek, I think this is one of the, as you look at the deployment of Strapi, is to determine which approach is going to work better for us. We did fork the Strapi repo, thinking that that was the way to go, but I don't know.
Yeah, surely. I'll check it out. I'll check out if forking is the right thing to do.
All right, if that's it, the
Yeah.
Strava deployment. All right, Josh, go ahead.
Is my screen visible?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think I've just made enough work to be counted as a first iteration for the Meshery page of the Layer 5 NG website. And the few things that I like to just that are different from the XD preview, I'll just so yeah, so this part is a bit new for this section, for the mesh management section. And the use cases, yeah, so this part is also new, but the thing is like still we are missing someone to design a smaller something which can be used as a preview for the features section over here, and then I can just put in the data. So like this will be, I'll just convert it to like four columns in a row and it would be enough. But the thing is I'm waiting for a some preview that I can use, so like it would be very much clear that will four rows be working good, or like we'll need three or something else. And the FAQs, this is the FAQs section. So this is something like I did like very much in, I saw in a website and I tried to incorporate this thing. Yeah, that's basically much. And yeah, this is some marketing thing I thought could be very much so this is my personal opinion, I did use this. Yeah, that's all. This is the very much first iteration, so this is also responsive and in mobile view and all sorts, so this can be considered to be the first iteration for the Meshery page for now.
For the features part, maybe we can add a lottie animation for something there.
Yeah, so the thing is I'm lacking with some design because I don't have much knowledge, but I can do basically is prepare a layout or something with the help of Adobe XD, but I don't have much, I am not into much of designing and color stuff. So also I have an idea of like we do need to have a background over this part, because in any like the differentiation between the header and this section is very much important, I guess, for this part, for this page. So like it would be very much like when you scroll it's definitely differentiated, but like when you land upon it I don't think it looks like it won't be very much attractive in that sense. So if we do have a background for this section we can, so like I tried few colors but only colors won't work, we need something like a background svg or a gradient or something, and we can just use that in this background part. Also I just added the thing first iteration here because like the PR has gone so long, and like the conflicts are arising day by day, so I thought it would be good to merge it for now and like open up a second iteration PR for this thing.
Who else has feedback on this? Josh, I totally agree. This is great. Getting the bones in there and the skeletal structure of the fact. Wait, what's going on with is my voice not coming through? You guys are lying to me.
It's perfect.
It's normal.
Is it? Okay. No. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Okay. I don't literally mean for everyone to hold on for me. Microphone's not plugged in. Yeah, so the. All right, we'll get this figured out.
That
How are we doing now?
Better.
Much better.
Clear and loud.
How are we
Like
doing?
I have a suggestion over here for
No,
the
good.
12 service meshes. Like we can incorporate a D3 graph over here, like keeping the mastery icon in the center and floating those other service meshes around it. How about it? I can give it a toss.
Can you repeat? I just missed the graph, the prefix of the graph.
Yeah, like in D3, if you go search in D3 JS.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you open image,
Mm,
Yeah, but
no,
basically,
just come back and open images. Top.
okay, images.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So
something like
basically
this.
like this.
So the thing is, this will require a library,
Yeah.
and because I did try this for my personal project once, and like it was much of sweat to do this thing, and like because this the component will be like we have to ensure the zoom in, zoom out, and all those things in this. So like yeah, if you can give it a try, it would be very good.
Yeah, sure, I'll try my best.
All right. Any other
John,
feedback?
just to finish that other thought was, so I'm glad Neil chimed in. That sounds like a fantastic idea. It'll give, not only does the structure that Josh is bringing look pretty good because it's each, each of the components have something of a unique design. There's a set of components that are in a series that show off features. That's great. The other ones are somewhat unique. The FAQ, that's a great thing to have. The notion that, and what Josh was saying is like, hey, he's brought this together. He has made it responsive as well. Like, what more can you ask of Josh? Like, hey, other people need to come to bear to, do some visual design. And so Neil, thanks for jumping in. That's perfect. Like, Josh, I think had a decent vision for what might be to come in the on that visual that we're seeing on the screen right now. Your suggestion, that sounds pretty fantastic. We've been talking with Jethro and the other Gerald, whose last name is Peter.
Peter.
I'm sending a link in the chat. Can you please open, Josh?
Yeah, I'll just.
So neither of the two of them have yet to, holy balls, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did ping them in my this morning, Indian morning, and I didn't get any reply even today. Yeah, this looks very good.
You know how it's made.
Maybe some kind of cytoscape library they're using over here.
So the thing is, like, if we do have a component for this, it would be a very good thing. But like,
Yeah, I would search it if it's
if it
available in
uses
some.
HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it would be like a difficult task to incorporate. So yeah, oh, best of luck for you. Like, I think you can just do this. Like, if you can do this, it would be a very good thing for the website.
Yeah.
And then to Josh's point, like if there is either like, or even if this is successful and Jethro comes back with something pretty fantastic as well, it's not like either the two of them will be a waste. Like we will, there's room to use. I mean, we have a lot of room for things. This is really interesting. I hadn't seen this before. This is a great way of like letting people explore something that's pretty cool. Tanuj, you might get some ideas when you see this. I don't know. The person that's sharing the screen, Josh, if you would, can you scroll to the top, or rather, yeah, I think it's scroll to the top. When you click, can you change the view from singular to grid style? Yeah, and check this out. If you hover over the cards, ooh. Anyway, things to be inspired by, I suppose. Pretty
These are
awesome.
basically SVG animations.
Are they? Yeah. I wonder what framework was used for those SVG animations.
I dig it.
Okay. So awesome. Great. Because Gerald hasn't gotten a chance, I think, to show off the landscape. We might want to spare 10 minutes for that.
Yeah, I'll just stop my screen here.
Ooh. Nice. And then Gerald, you're on mute, just in case you think that you're not on mute.
Just a question, like, is the text white or like
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute button. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's an SVG, Josh.
okay?
Yeah, so this is what I've gathered so far. There's still like some formatting that has to happen to bring it closer to the previous the previous site.
Nice. How difficult was it? This timeline how much of the CSS came over without much?
So I was building it using CSS. Then Tanuji brought in a suggestion to use a React component, a React library. So this is from a library. It's not pure CSS.
I see. Yeah.
Just a question or suggestion, like, can
Connecting
we
lines.
decrease the size of the timeline? Like, I think it's too large or something.
Okay.
Uh, I mentioned that in the comment of the pull request also. I'm asking that same thing here. Like, are we planning to keep the design same or there gonna be some change for the complete landscape page?
some change if we can, like that actually hopefully all of you have the sense that that we intentionally want to change things from the current site to this one. I mean, that's why we're moving sites. It's not, there's some good structure to the old site, but it's all up for question, you know, like, and so that includes the landscape. The landscape is, so like Gerald, I think one of the, and for everyone, one of the things that we would, I don't know that I ever explicitly stated this, but we should, is that the tabular, the data that we have, the long tables that have, we would almost want to make it a goal that we have created visualizations from this data and no longer need to show people the tabular view because we've taken advantage of all the data, but it's being presented in a much more visually appealing and kind of digestible way. So it's not that you're not doing a great job, by the way, on the page, but that the landscape as it is currently is kind of, is a little bit underwhelming. It used to be really horrible until Nikhil did some nice work to it and got it some visualizations and things. There is the notion that there would be a table is still very helpful and can be really good when, if there's a table that's more of a, it's more of a, like if you take the current table that's there and you're talking about the features and the functions of each piece of technology, of each service mesh, and where some of them say yes, they say yes or no. If the yes or the no's were green and red check marks and X's, then visually people's eyes can just glaze over it and see, oh, this mesh.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Especially if the sequence in which they're presented is like the most powerful, the one with the most yeses is on the very left hand or the very right hand side, whichever makes sense.
Means, are we using any CSS means any framework in this site currently? Like we are using Material UI for the measuring, which is a very good framework if we want some design aspects. Then you can use if you can import that framework, then we can use a component which is Material UI tabs. And instead of showing multiple tables, means you can create a common section which can switch between tables using the tab. If you go to a new tab and open search for Material tabs, channel tabs, see Material. That's Angular, I guess we wanted for React.
How do
It's
I
React
switch?
tabs. React
Material
dash
UI.
tabs.
How do I switch to the React version?
You go back to the home page. Means, okay, yeah, the third one, tabs hyphen material design. That's wait, I'm telling you the link. Pasting it in the chat. Yeah, Pratta has already pasted it. So if you go to the chat and open the link, also something similar to what we are showing, seeing it right over here. If something like that can be incorporated, then we would be saving space and it would be good UX wise also. Like
Uh,
one
So
will
just
be for the
how do
function.
yeah, so like we if we wish to have another library, or else we also do have a component in React as well for tabs, because When I was migrating mastery page, I did have a look on it. So if possible, we can also use React tabs.
Yep. Because much of the functionalities we have with Material UI, we already have in the theme. So incorporating the Material UI theme completely doesn't make complete sense, I think.
Oh, then it's okay. Means I was just suggesting that it would make our work easier. So if we have that components, then you can use that one. Jared, was I able to make the idea clear?
Uh, yeah, you did.
Okay.
There is actually a library for tables also. We can use that so that it is easier to create tables rather than writing the CSS and HTML. I'll drop a link. Uh, mm,
Maybe that will help you
yeah,
to, come up with a better design.
yeah,
You've dropped the link,
yeah. I dropped the link
Yeah,
for the
it's in the
tables.
chat.
Yeah,
React table.
it's a popular frame library. I think it will provide lots of functionalities. Mm,
Is it the one I'm looking at right now?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So apart from representing yes and no with sort of a tick and the cross, what else are we changing?
You can use React icons for it. I guess we already have
Okay.
React icons, so
Yeah,
the package is already installed. Yeah, so you just need to import the icons, or there's some component name which can be used.
Did you
And
say React icons?
yeah, React icons, correct. I guess the colors can be changed using props. I'm not sure. Hopefully, it would be that way.
yeah. Colors can be changed
Yeah,
easily
they
for
can
it.
be changed by styles even.
It's a simple condition where if it's yes, then show that component. Otherwise, the other component.
Okay.
Gerald, does all that were you able to hear all of that feedback, or do you have questions?
I think I got most of it.
Okay. Okay. The Gerald, there is. Remind me. I'll try to do it right after this call. There's like maybe one other visualization that I don't think that we have created. Actually, Nikhil is maybe a better. Nikhil, you know how on the current landscape there were a few different, I think, spectrums is what we were referring to them as, and
Yeah, correct.
and I
We
don't.
have that, I guess, but it's commented out.
That might
Right.
be a good thing to introduce to Gerald, because he might either want to do a similar thing here, or it might inspire him with some new thoughts about some different visualizations for the data.
Yeah, sure. Means the thing is, once if he is up with this one, then we can add it like a added feature for that.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a much of a pressure on him altogether.
Yeah, got it. It won't. Yeah, it won't make the initial PR so huge. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But by the way, kind of like Josh had said earlier, where Josh was saying like, hey, you know, this Meshery page PR has been open for quite a while. I've been adding to it, refining it, adding to it. It's certainly not done, but maybe we can land it. And I totally agree. We should land it. And Gerald, like the same thing here. If you're inclined to have a PR merged for this, we should. Like, it's not done. That's fine. Like, we should just help you. It just feels good and kind of to kind of be making incremental progress like that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Nice. And then Nikhil, maybe either now or even if you just show him where that other visualization looks like, he doesn't have to start on it or even ever do it, but just.
Okay, so I'll have to see the file. I can't exactly remember it. It's under the landscape part only.
Yep.
Service mesh hyphen something dot ym or something like that.
Fair enough.
Or if you go to the GitHub repo, I can tell you right now. Anyways, whichever you feel like. Not the site. Uh, github.com/layer5io/. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, the spectrums.html. Go back. Yeah, the last file, spectrums.html. Yeah. So you will get the data over here, which we are talking about. It's from over here we are redirecting to some other files, and you can get the file path over here itself. So yeah, that's the file you want to look at.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Means from this file we are including other files which you can see like partial/spectrum/arrow.html, which basically adds some CSS to the page. So means over here, if you go through the data on this file, then you can navigate to the other files where you can find other related data to get the spectrum part on the website.
Okay.
Is my voice not audible? I guess Shriti can't hear me.
I think the volume might be slightly low, but.
Now is it better?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, that's it.
Weird.
Actually, the thing was, I mean, sometimes there's some background noise. So in the office meetings, I generally reduce the volume of a mic a bit low. That's it.
Yep. Thank you for sparing us.
No issues at all.
Nice, Gerald. It's looking good, man. I'm excited about it. I'm encouraged that you guys were able to identify a React component for the landscape that otherwise would have just been, it'll be a bit more native, a little easier to sustain over time.
Thanks.
Nice. Shriti, did we have anything else? And Shriti, you're on mute. Oh, your mic's not working. Okay, yeah, no problem. Shriti, there were a couple of action items that if you feel like they're appropriate to toss into GitHub issues, we might want to do that a little bit later. I think I took an action item or two, so I know it feels good to go create issues for me. So I'll take them. Oh, very good, thank you. And then Gerald, if you have, I've got a couple of Slack messages over to you. There's a couple of items to catch up on with you if you have a few minutes. Other than that, I'm just looking back over there's a couple of items that I had to chat through, but we're over time and they're not that important. One of those items, actually, it might be that it's this one about how it works component that I'll just mention it as a tease or as a bit of laying down of the gauntlet, so to speak. So this component comes from there were one of two projects that HashiCorp announced this last week, and both sites are fantastic. Both sites are modern and they're open source, and we're hoping to take inspiration from them or take some of the components from them. And here's one here that lets you switch between what it looks like to do something in the CLI versus what it looks like to do that same thing in the UI. That's pretty cool. We could have use for that somewhere. But what is maybe more immediately useful is this animation here, where again, instead of it being a terminal that gets stepped through, it's a visualization that, and I can't tell you how many things I think that we could visualize in this type of a manner. And I guess I haven't looked to see if this is an SVG. It looks like it is. That's great. I'll sign up for work to create the SVGs and the steps and the things to the extent that there was, and this isn't an urgent item, but to the extent that someone eventually wanted to try to incorporate this component into the site. That component is called How It Works. So cool. That's what that last item was about. Anyone have anything else? I know Shriti's going to follow up on this plugin for today's workshop. Shriti, if we don't get it today, not the end of the world, as people will just be doing page translation outside of the plugin. But ideally, we would have it so that
I have the initial setup done, but I do need Zeus's help in doing the actual bits of translation because I'm depending on Google Translate, and well, that's not a good way of doing it.
so the workshoppers today at that workshop, that's his intention is for them to do the translation. So cool.
I have a thing
Short
like
of all the Zeus, right? I'm guessing that's not. Yeah. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so recently the workshops page has been migrated by Kishore, and so like so I'm not pretty sure if like we did have a drop down and all such stuff in the workshops page. So like, are we going to have individual? So it won't be visible, I guess, cause the Netlify deploy is off. Are we going to have individual workshops pages? Then I would be creating issues for them, or like I think Nikhil and Tanuj can answer on this.
The PR is merged already, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think so. It is merged.
Then we can go to the netlify.
Oh, okay. Does the long-lived one?
Yeah, should I share the screen and show it to
Yeah,
you?
please. Sure.
Yeah.
And I realize that, by the way, everyone, I know that we're a little bit long. Abhishek, you might have better things to do or other things to do, but we wanted to talk about Strappy earlier. So
Oh, yeah, Ali, actually, I'm running a little late with a meeting
sure.
with.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
I'll drop from here and catch up with him, and then I'll catch up with you later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Abhishek. Thank you. That's nice. Those cards look pretty nice. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's so much better than what was. Yep, and that would minimize back to, okay, got it. And show more, like, yeah. And so the part of the open question it sounded like was, oh, wow, that's cool. Those URLs, that's cool. Was whether or not this card should open up into its own full page. And for the moment, for my part, I don't know that that's necessary. Like the intention for, so the original intention for this workshops page and the collection of workshops that are within it was really about workshops that we were giving at different events, at other events. And so, but we did want to tell people when they came to take the workshop where to get all the materials. We would just say, go to layer5io/workshops. You'll see your workshop. You can find all the materials there. That was the context in which the page was originally designed. At some point, I mean, we've hosted our own workshops a couple of times. At some point, we may go to host more of them. But even at that, I don't know that those are going to require their own dedicated page.
Yeah, exactly. So the question was like, now I don't think we do have a need of creating the individual pages.
There's one argument to doing so, or to doing something a little bit different. And so these last 3 workshops are great examples of what happens. So oh yeah, shit, the introduction to Istio, that's going to happen on Wednesday. I forgot. Each of these 3, there are 3 different workshops, and each of them are going to be given twice. So actually, I think if you click show more on one of them, if it gives a date, it's like, well, and I don't know that it does, but my point is like there's different session instances of them, different sessions given at different dates. There is a little bit of a conundrum here, like, so yeah.
I think the older one would have a date.
Oh, I see. So we can either include, like, in the expanded card, it can include the fact that there are multiple sessions. That might be the appropriate thing to do, is to just capture that there as opposed to having.
I think so. We can use tabs over here, by the way, like just below the image we could have 2 tabs with the dates mentioned. So for this date, this view, and for the next date, the other view.
Nice.
Or we can also have the tabs on the left side, and like it depends on how good we want it visually.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, one thing that you like, that you want to kind of plan for is, well, like, to the extent that we gave, so the introduction to Istio, actually, I think this will be the 4th time that we'll be giving it. I think, I don't remember, which means that, and like, we're going to give it a couple more times, which means like eventually there's going to be 10 or 12 or something. There's going to be too many of these instances, or there'll be enough that it will bear weight on the approach. Like, so think about that. It can be okay that we have a set of tabs that people have to scroll to get to the end to. That can be okay, because we would just order it in a descending fashion. So the latest is first, and eventually, yeah, for posterity, we do want to show the fact that we've given it 19 times, but that the older ones, they don't need to be readily accessible. It's okay if people have to dig a little.
Sorry, but means I missed the part what this the discussion about. I had some messages coming up from my teammates. So
The
if you
question
can
was,
repeat, yeah.
I think the overarching question was, do these individual cards need their own dedicated page? Does each workshop need its own dedicated page? And
Okay. Means as per the data we have in the cards, I don't think making a new page would be a good choice.
I agree. Or that it's not necessary. It doesn't, we don't have to. There's only one.
Also, Kishore had one question. Like many of the workshops have same data. Like, is that intentional or is
Yeah.
it?
So that's kind of this last part of the discussion that we were having, which is so the advanced Istio workshop that we're looking at now, we're going to give it like 8 times or 10 times, and it would be, and so the introduction to Istio, the other one, we've given it over the last like year and a half, and it has definitely changed from the first time that we've given it until now. The materials have changed, they've been updated, Istio's changed a whole bunch. And so two things. One, it would be nice to be able to show the fact that we've given it 10, 12, 20 times. That doesn't mean it needs its own dedicated page. It just would be nice to capture. That's kind of what Josh was discussing, and he was thinking about individual tabs within the bigger card, either whether they were on the left-hand side or vertical or something like that. Yeah, it's basically the same training that we're giving multiple sessions of, this month, next month, next month. Some of the text more or less stays the same, the high level. The actual labs start to change a little bit. Mostly the link to the lab stays the same, even though we're changing it. It's just a Git repo that changes over time. So like the reality is, we kind of we kind of only care about showing the fact that there's different sessions. Capturing all of the details and persisting those for each session is not really that important.
Okay, so means if that's the scenario, like if we are giving the same workshops again and again, then we can have a kind of drop down in which when we select the number of the workshop which is going as per the date, or we can have the dates listed when the workshops are going to happen, and according to that the links might change, like for the URL and the video.
Hmm. So on the top, like if you don't migrate the individual pages, then migration is done, I think so.
The events page is left.
Yeah, so one or two pages would be the code of conduct page is also left, I guess.
Yeah, that's
So
done.
I think they are stale again from a lot of time, and like we need to poke the contributor or we need to change the contributor. But if we just accept one or two pages, it's done. The all the migrations have been done.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. That does mean that, like, hey, we do want to get into Strappy. We do want to circle back and start to get anal or retentive about the every pixels and styles, and but that's good. This is nice. This is a nice collection.
Before we go, I guess Lee, some of the new maintainers have their, you know, the permissions are yet to be given. I think, like
Oh,
Shash
yeah, that's a good
and
point. I
Vardhan.
missed it. Yeah, that's all right.
And also, is Tanush, do you have the credentials for Strappy? You wanted that, but I guess.
Uh, no, actually, for that, Abhishek is going to deploy the Abhishek and Amaya was going to deploy the production version. Till then, I can work on the other animation parts and also the information architecture of how you are going to use Strappy. For that, I don't need the production deployment.
Okay, good.
Mm. There is a bug in this page. I need to create an issue.
All right, is that it today? All right. Thanks for coming in, everybody. That's it.
Looking good. Looking really good. Nice. Thank you, Shruti. Alrighty.
Sorry for keeping everybody late.
Okay. Bye all. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.